Hello and welcome. This is Politics Today on Channels Television. I'm Sheung Okinbaloye. Tonight, at what point is an opposition criticism seen as libelous or slanderous? In most political climes, little or nothing the ruling party does is usually seen as good or sensible. However, the opposition too, most of the times, never come forward with concrete solutions or suggestions on how to resolve an issue or move forward. In short, the ruling party and the opposition have always come across as enemies. A cat and dog situation is what we often see. Recently, the interim national chairman of a newly formed merger party, the All Progressives Congress (APC), Chief Bisi Akande, has been heavily criticized for describing Nigeria's President Goodluck Jonathan as a kindergarten president. The presidency didn't take that issue lightly and have also replied with strong and heavily worded responses, some of which also have annoyed the opposition party. For example, the president's advisor on publicity, Dr. Ruben Abati, asked Chief Bisi Akande to watch his age and respect himself based on his utterances. The opposition thereafter dared the presidency by asking it to go to court if it feels offended by its leader's utterances. The presidency has then also stated that it may sue Chief Akande for slander. Tonight on the program, we shall be looking at the opposition criticisms and the ruling party performance in Nigerian politics. To what extent is the freedom of expression of the opposition in a democracy as ours, and how far can they go to eat at the presidency, for example? And again, when the ruling party is seen as not performing, what can be done? Joining me on the program tonight, the interim national publicity secretary of the All Progressives Congress (APC), Alhaji Lai Mohammed. Thank you for joining us on the program.
Sure, it's a pleasure.
Yeah, to strike the balance from our Abuja studio, sitting in for the President's Senior Special Assistant on Public Affairs, Dr. Doyin Okukwe, is Dr. Kach Ononuju. Thank you for joining us. But just before we get the issues started and discussing on this matter and so much more as regarding Nigerian politics, Nigerian democracy and the 2015 presidency, we'll take a short break, and when we return, I'm going to be taking my guest on this very issue that you also will love to be talking about. But in the meantime, you can also participate on the program by sending your tweets on this particular handle at Sheung Okin. Or if you have the opportunity of sending an email, send it to politicstoday@channelstv.com. Right after the break, we'll discuss more on this issue. Do you understand? Thank you for staying with us here on Politics Today. Don't forget, you can be a part of the program by sending your tweets to @Sheung Okin, or send an email to politicstoday@channelstv.com. I told you earlier on before the break that I have two guests on the side of the divide. Alhaji Lai Mohammed is the interim national publicity secretary of the All Progressives Congress (APC), and I have in the studio in Abuja standing by is Dr. Kach Ononuju, standing in for Dr. Doyin Okukwe. Dr. Kach Ononuju, thank you for staying with us. Let me start with you from Abuja. If you will tell us, particularly, how does the presidency see the criticisms coming from the newly merged APC? It seems the presidency is not finding it funny, is it?
Well, as you know, in every democracy, the presidency is not only the symbol of the country, but also the father of the nation. And when you have elderly citizens like Chief Akande, who has been a governor before in one of Nigeria's states in the southwest region, speak that way, it leaves a lot to be desired about what it is as an example that we should give to the young ones and also people who are watching us from across the world. You know very well, and we Nigerians know, that Americans and other people do respect the presidency. You might know Goodluck Jonathan as a person, but the institution of the presidency is something that belongs to everybody. And for elderly men like Chief Akande to speak in such desperate format and in a way unbecoming of expectations from such senior citizens, of course, leaves a lot to be desired. And I believe is not the proper thing that we should be teaching the young ones.
Well, Dr. Onanuju, a lot of people have said that what Chief Bisi Akande is simply saying is some form of criticism that the president is not listening to him. Do you think that the president has the prerogative to listen to someone like Chief Bisi Akande from the leader of the opposition party about suggestions on how to move the nation forward?
Chief Bisi Akande is a leader in an opposition party, but the president does not rule the country in answer to the opposition. No, he rules the country in purpose to bring the good things that governance will suggest to the general population, and also to rule to meet the aspirations of Nigerians. The opposition sometimes could speak from very angry standpoints, and like Chief Akande has spoken, from a very desperate standpoint. Ruling the country is a much bigger thing than listening to the aspirations or the emotions of citizens like Chief Akande, who, yes, is exhibiting some of the things that most of the elites do. When they get desperate in politics, they throw caution to the wind and speak in a way that we don't expect elderly citizens to do. I think the right thing is Chief Akande should, as an important person engaged in a political process, moderate his voice so that we can bring some quality of civility in our political discourse. Because the availability of a good and virile opposition actually acts as a guidance, not only to the ruling party, but also to provide to this general population their own beliefs and feelings about how governance should be. So we believe if we can moderate the language used, and then everybody will feel a bit comfortable, because after all, we all belong to the same family. We are all Nigerians, despite what politics is. We should just be gentle and be civil in the way that we approach this thing with each other.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Onanuju. Let's bring it the discussion to the studio here in Lagos. Alhaji Lai Muhammad, we've heard your party even at that point when you were the publicity secretary to the Action Congress of Nigeria. Your party spoke loudly about a whole lot of things as regarding the development of the nation. But at this time around, when your party said, we are eyeing the seat at the center, a lot of people believe that the comment made by Chief Bisi Akande is perhaps going too far. What do you have to say to this?
Well, I don't know whether we're still running a participatory democracy, a monarchy, or an empire. If we are still running a democracy, I believe that Chief Bisi Akande's comment is very fair, measured, and temperate. And it's unfortunate that people are quoting Chief Bisi Akande out of context. He didn't start out by saying President Goodluck Jonathan is a kindergarten president. He laid the foundation for this conclusion. He said, on 2 separate occasions, he wrote letters to Mr. President on very serious, burning national issues. The president never even acknowledged such letters, talk less of replying to them. 2, that he had noticed that anytime anybody shares a different political opinion from Mr. President, that Mr. President's reaction is to use institutions such as EFCC and the police to persecute such a person. And he cited examples. And this is how he got to the conclusion that Mr. President, that this particular presidency is elementary in nature. Now, I have read criticism of other presidents from other parts of the world, and I think this is very mild. As a matter of fact, what we would have expected from the presidency is to face the issues and say, oh, Mr. President never received any letter from Chief Bisi Akande on national issues. Or, yes, we did receive those letters, we are looking into them. Or, it is not true that Mr. President actually persecutes real or perceived enemies. This is the kind of response we're expecting from the presidency. And apparently, many people don't even know who Chibisa Akande really is. There's probably nothing anybody has been in this country apart from a president he has not been. More than 35 years ago, Chibisa Akande was secretary to government in Oyo State. More than 30 years ago, he was deputy governor in Oyo State. He had been governor. He had been party chairman in the last 10 years. And he has seen it all. But I still insist that Chibisa Akande is not the kind of person who makes, desperate, comments. And I think the more our elected officials are tolerant to criticisms, the better it will be for all of us. But rather than, describing Chibisa Akande as desperate or that, let's face the issues that Chibisa Akande raised in his interview.
All right, let's take a look at so that we get the right perspective to the issue. What exactly Chibisa Akande said and how he was quoted. He actually said he was in a Larangun that he was saying this, and he said that to have 2 meetings with him, that is the Mr. President, since 2011. I have had a long telephone conversation with him. I have written him twice discussing the serious challenges facing the country, but he has not found the courtesy to reply. He has reduced governance to kindergarten level.